While we all realize Drake Maye is certainly the answer for the Patriots at quarterback, and in terms of developing star power and leadership, Gerard Mayo's young team is looking for answers in several other places, including coaching. That's why today your old pals Nick Fitzy Stevens and Andy Jumbo Hart are more than happy to get into it and explore in the wake of the Patriots' 28-22 home loss to the Rams exactly what's going on. And how do we get anybody else not named Drake Maye going to solve some problems and get this team better? It's all available on the latest Six Rings and Football Things podcast, brought to you by your friends at WEEI Odyssey and 2400 Sports. He's on the WEEI Afternoon Show. His name is Andy Jumbo Hart. I'm pretty much everywhere else. Your old pal Nick Fitzy Stevens here at Fitzy GFY. All right, Hart. I just read before we started recording on this lovely Tuesday morning, while also streaming live across the Fitzy GFY and WEEI social medias. I just read this little tweet. I thought this would be a good starting point. Chad Graff has a piece on The Athletic that he just published that says, headline being, for this season to be deemed a success. Side note to all of this. This is, of course, and like every radio show and podcast in New England now, a reconvening of the Drake Maye Appreciation Society. Although how much more football washing we can do of the Rook, I'm not really sure. What's that, Sean McVay? Fine. Okay, we'll share your thoughts one more time if you insist.
See his ability to create off schedule. I thought he did a great job of being able to make plays in the pocket today, extend drives. I thought he was patient, taking some underneath checkdowns where guys were able to create. We had some tighter coverages and he was able to fit the ball into tight windows. So he looks like a stud. I didn't do too much work on him coming out, but I do know that a lot of people that studied him really hard that, that I truly respect their opinions, loved what he was all about. You can see, just the impact that he has on his teammates, the way people talk about him here. He looks like he's going to be a special player for a long time, and he gave us fits today.
That's right. I'll give you some fits right now. He joins the ranks, the Orlovskis, the Kurt Warners, the Louis Riddicks, the everybody's across the world. Drake Maye is it. Yes, we get it. However, the Chad Graff piece that I mentioned moments ago, Andy says, for this season to be deemed a success, you've got to come out of your 8-person draft class feeling good about more than Drake Maye. So there's your first question, audience. There is your first question, Andy Hart. Who in this 8-person draft class, not named Drake Maye, could possibly be the next person to step up and be deemed a success? To help, who's going to be part of the solution, not the problem, going forward?
So, first of all, I disagree with Graff. Now we've moved the goalpost because everybody said this season was about Drake Maye and the development of Drake Maye. And as long as you have a franchise quarterback, Drake Maye, everything's fine. Now that we've acknowledged that, we drum up. And I give Graff credit. You got to do these things to create content, create discussion. But I disagree with it totally. If Drake Maye's a stud, then you have a future. And everybody knows that. That's what elite quarterbacks do. Second of all, I do enjoy Sean McVay better when he's raving about our first-round pick rather than
shitting on us.
That's a lot more enjoyable than
I oftentimes think about that, like the time where he and Snead were like, we were thinking that Cole Strange would be around in the 100s, and they took him in the first round. Ha, ha, ha. He did like this crazy supervillain laugh, and I just thought, like, oh no, this is going sideways quickly. Weren't you and I on the air with Mutt? I was at the stadium. You were at home. He was in studio back in 2022, the night they took Cole Strange.
You think I remember these things?
But I do. That's the thing. Elephants never forget.
Hollow in there.
Yeah, believe me, I didn't take you knocking on the top of your cranium to need to know that. I feel like that was the night like McDuffie went to the Chiefs, and you got like Jermaine Johnson going to the Jets, and we're just like, we could have used him. I like that guy. Wait, who? Yeah. Anyway, I agree with you. I appreciate that. Anyway, back to the topic at hand.
So if you're gonna sell me on anyone, it probably has to be maybe Layden Robinson, one of the offensive linemen. I'm definitely concerned about the development or lack thereof, the abysmal play, the attitude, the mental hurdles of Jalen Polk. Your boy Javon Baker has done diddly
zero. Well, actually, he had a nice 45-yard kickoff return.
That got him benched.
Then Mayo hasn't. What was the issue with the other one? Do you know
No,
exactly?
Mayo had an issue with both of them. His desire to come out, the way he executed them, like the whole thing.
Yeah, 45 freaking yards.
I don't think he did what he was supposed to do or something. I don't know, but he lumped those together why he was benched from that role. So you can't count on him. Dial done nothing. Who am I forgetting about? Seems like there's two
Layden
linemen, two
Robinson,
receivers.
Javon Baker, Jalen Polk.
Yeah, I got nothing.
Caden Wallace. Like,
Yeah, I
you
mentioned
thought that
him.
was
I've
going to
seen
be a
nothing.
thing.
Well, I never thought that was going to be a thing. Elliot Wolf thought that was going to be a thing. Layden Robinson is the only guy. If you hold true to this, Layden Robinson is the only guy that I've seen any reason to hold out hope for as just a big, powerful man-moving guard. But again, I'm not, beggars can't be choosers. The old slow, like, I'm happy. I begged for Drake Maye. I begged for Drake Maye to be great. And I think Drake Maye is trending in that great direction. So I'm not going to get greedy at this point.
Here's the only kind of thing we can share on the live stream, but I have to filter it accordingly for the podcast. Says regular viewer and friend of heart, Jeff Stenberg. The guy who wrote that article can kiss my tip. It's a QB league, and it looks like the Pats now have one. That stands for draft success. Oh, no, Jeff Stenberg, you and Andy Hart agreed on something. Quick, go take a lap or wash your mouth out with soap. But I'm with you. Again, I put it two ways. I put it one overall about the draft for Elliot Wolf, that so long as you got a quarterback at the end of all of this, and he's not just like a jag, but like really good, then you have a successful draft, and this year is not a waste. So good for Elliot Wolf. And for Alex Van Pelt, I've been grading him as an offensive coordinator on a curve as well, because so long as he continues to do good work with Drake Maye, and he told you that yesterday on the afternoon show, you were there in person, you fielded that response where Arcand asked him about ownership possibly going over coaching and coordinators' heads to seek advice on how to groom him, train him, and prepare the offense better. He seemed to stick up pretty nicely for McCartney and AVP yesterday as well.
Yes, but he also acknowledged that he's not a why guy. He's a fall in order, fall in line kind of guy. That was very much not beaten into him. I don't want to say that. That would imply something else, but entrenched in him by his parents and his family, and that's the way they did business. If your parents told you to do it, you did it. Coaches tell you to do it, you do it. And that's where I think, and I've said this a ton to Arcand on the afternoon show, that's the irony. You now have a coach who came in saying he was going to answer the why, because modern players ask why. And you have a quarterback who would have fit with the previous coach, who was not a why guy, who was a do it because I damn well told you to do it and don't ask questions, just be a good soldier. So that's where I think some of this whole fit between Belichick and Maye, this whole stupid social media thing where all these people have ignored that Belichick sucked as a coach for the last 3 or 4 years of his tenure in New England, and think he'd be 8-3.
Oh, you mean you're not with the Patriots fan who went viral thanks to ML Football the other day, who said
stupid.
This team would be bare minimum 8-3 with Belichick?
I mean, is it quantum leap Belichick? Is it circa 2004 Belichick? Or is it the guy who wasn't very good at his job in recent years in terms of drafting players, hiring coaches, or executing on a week-to-week basis, communicating, doing really anything well, and had one of the sloppiest teams in football?
Yeah. Thank you, Wayne Felch, for bringing up Lad McConkey so that now I can just crawl into my cavern of sadness for the remainder of the day as well. And Jeff Stenberg says he's willing to bury the hatchet, Andy, but don't F it up going forward because it's the holiday season. So in the name of goodwill and joy spread to all in Pats Nation, let's bury hatchets and try to move forward in a positive way. So Mego and I on the Monday show, Andy, on the evening program, we're trying to figure out, over the course of Monday, I was in a better frame of mind about the loss on Sunday. Then as Monday continued on and I heard denials of the Breer report about ownership going over heads, and I started thinking back about some of the decisions that were made during the course of the game, I got a little more frustrated with how that game played out. And I feel like this team now is leaning so much on the inexperience card. Like, we're all learning at the same time. Like, somebody should have Drake Maye is the one who really needs to be learning right now. That's priority number one. Everyone else should kind of have their shit together by this point, or at least be a little bit more composed and prepared for all the different in-game situations and variables. So I want to re-ask this question. Do you feel like ownership of the New England Patriots did quarterback, coach, and just the team at large a disservice by not making sure there was a more veteran, schooled, and experienced presence alongside Gerard Mayo, at least during his first year, to prevent some of these coaching miscues and hiccups that seem to be getting in the way of the team's success.
Well, I think that guy exists and no one's critiquing him. Ben McAdoo was a head coach in the National Football League. He was an offensive
But for
guru.
like 2 years.
He's still a head coach. Gerard Mayo's been a coach of any kind for 5 years. He's never called a play in the National Football League. He's never been a coordinator. Ben McAdoo was a multi-spot successful coordinator and became a head coach. I think he was supposed to be in that role. He's in that assistant head coach role. I don't know why we're not questioning and critiquing him more and Evan Rothstein, because Gerard Mayo is who he is. He was ill-prepared for the role he's in, and that's his support staff, Aaron Rothstein, Ben McAdoo, and those guys, and yet we all want to lump it on Mayo. I don't put a ton of this on Mayo. He couldn't prepare himself, right? Like there was nothing he could do to prepare himself. I mean, maybe a little bit more, but in general, he wasn't prepared or qualified for this job. Robert Kraft wanted him to have this job. So they surrounded him with whatever they thought was a support cast. I don't think the support cast has done a very good job. I don't know what Ben McAdoo does.
That's a great question. Is there anyone you can ask during a Patriots Monday or a Patriots Friday, just like, hey, just on behalf of Pats fans that are generally curious and are looking to see more success, like, oh, Gerard Mayo's like, oh, I make notes on this so that next time I try to get it right. Like, you had the whole offseason to think about how different games may play out and how different defenses, schemes, looks, and game plans may work, coach. To sort of just make it seem like, well, summertime was vibe patrol, and now we're really getting into the in-game nitty-gritty. Like, that doesn't give me, a seasoned Patriots fan, and I imagine the same is true for our listeners, our viewers, and more, a lot of confidence going forward. And that's why I titled today's podcast, Patriots Searching for an Identity Beyond Drake Maye. Well, who are they? What is this team aside from an old logo that used to define the standard of success in the NFL and now is starting to look, well, now has almost cemented itself, or at least firmly like plaster of Paris itself into the mediocrity, if not futility, of the NFL?
They are May and figure it out. You know, remember that? What was the old Palmer and Spawn and Pray for Rain, or right. Famous Orioles starting pitchers that they're like May. And that's why I said a couple weeks ago, you can almost see at times where he goes, F it, I'll do it myself. Like I got to do everything around here. And I've seen May. I love May. May has convinced everyone. I mean, you got Dan Orlovsky saying he should be in the Rookie of the Year conversation. He won't because they don't win enough games and the team's not good enough, but he should be in. That's a guy who hated him, who thought he should sit for 2 years. Couldn't pay him enough money in the world to play him. So we've seen the obvious ability and evolution of Drake Maye. I think Alex Van Pelt, not coincidentally, with Drake Maye, has trended upward. I think Alex Van Pelt has done a better and better. I thought Alex Van Pelt had a pretty good Sunday. He's been better. The guys that have struggled the most are the holdovers. Gerard Mayo, DeMarcus Covington, Elliott Wolf, sort of the guys you supposedly.
Whoa, Matt Groh.
Matt Groh. Well, but I don't know what Matt Groh does. He's sort of an underling now.
How can you have a team that has so many? What would you say you do here's?
Because you have a collaborative, you have a. That's great. The whole thing.
Yep. And it's silo free, and everyone can just help themselves to whatever grain they need. And they can ride a bicycle around the locker room where there's a ping pong table and all sorts of fun stuff.
They're not hard ass. You know who's hard ass generally? Bosses. We don't like it, but they're hard asses because they make us do what we don't want to do. They keep us in line. They force us to do our jobs, things that we saw in the past. The hierarchy here might be a problem. I mean, I hate to say this because I like Gerard Mayo a lot. I don't know if he's the guy. I really don't. To me, there has to be a lot of growth in his on-field coaching, but also his culture coaching if he's going to be the guy. I don't. Right now, if you made me bet one way or the other, I would say no, he's not the guy. He just isn't.
Good comment from Wayne Felch here. Why do the Patriots love all these other coaches? Because other teams are paying their salaries.
Well,
Well, hold on. So let's think about this for a second, because we know with Patricia and Judge and the Fobs, friends of Belichick that came through for so many years. So when AVP was dismissed from Cleveland back during the winter, is he still getting paid by Cleveland? Therefore, they didn't have to pay him that much, which made candidate 12 more attractive than others?
There's certainly the possibility there's an offset and that some of the pay is coming through Cleveland, and that is the combine. Now, I've heard AVP is making good money. I haven't been able to truly sort of source it out, but the indication I've gotten is that people would be surprised how much money AVP is making, that he's being paid pretty well.
Really?
So we'll see if that's true or not true. But I don't think there are a lot of those guys. Like, this is the staff they put together. I mean, I haven't done the research on Drew Wilkins and Scott Turner and
who was it? Who is it? Tyler Hughes is the wide receivers coach.
Yeah, who he
was like a high school coach a few years ago.
Can I make a prediction?
Yeah,
he will not be the wide receivers coach next year, based on a lot of the criticism I've heard from. Let's call them. What we called them fobs when they were built.
Let's see, this guy, these two people too.
But more so, friends of Mayo, FOMs, the Currans and the Phil Perrys of the world, who are tied into Gerard Mayo, have been very critical of the wide receiver coach, very critical, and I think that is a sign that he will be a part of the offseason maneuverings of the coaching staff.
He'll be Cam McCord will be like, "Oh, your exit packages right this way. Come on down." Here's a good question from your pal Jeff Stenberg as well. I had it on screen a moment ago. Do you think AVP is doing better, or is his perceived success just the fact that Drake Maye is infinitely better than Brissett? We now have the Patriots up into the 20s, by the way, in points per game, thanks to the work of Drake Maye as well, which is good. Drake Maye is now averaging, I think, almost 8 points a game better than Jacoby Brissett was. So you're talking about tangible results. There you go, right there. The proof is definitely in the pudding and in the box score.
Yeah, no, I the question about whether is AVP better or is, Drake Maye the reason, I think Drake Maye is a significant reason. No, us people didn't think Mac was the answer. No, none of us liked Mac. Well, I can't speak for Fitzy. A lot of people didn't like Mac as much as they liked Drake Maye. He didn't have the skills.
I'll go ahead. I always own my L's, and I'm never ashamed to be the lone resident of unpopular take Island, as I say. I thought Mac would be able to work within the system. The true tragic downfall of Michael McCorkle-Jones was the departure of Josh McDaniels and himself.
Talent.
Talent.
I don't know what he did well physically. Like, sometimes he was accurate, sometimes he wasn't. He didn't have a good arm. I argued with Mudd at night for this forever. Oh, it'll get better. Arms don't get significantly better. They get incrementally.
The whole Tom House thing. He was going to work on his hip and leg strength and be able to. It
doesn't happen. You either have a strong arm or you don't. You can add 1% or whatever, but you're not going from weak-armed wuss to strong-armed man like in a couple of years. And
if only we could have had the brain of Mac Jones with the arm of Jeff George.
Yeah, I'm not even sure about that. I think he's kind of a hothead. He's soft. He sulks. He breaks. I don't really think there's a lot of great tangible or intangible qualities of Mac Jones, because the intangibles that people tried to sell me on, I didn't see. He was wound too tight. He broke. I think he was a whiny, me first person at times. And they played a role in that. They helped break him. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, for sure.
There was certainly aspects here where they magnified his weaknesses and magnified some of his flaws. But I'm not a big Mac Jones guy. And a lot of people I know Paul Perillo never believed in him. Never. Mm-hmm. I believed in him more than Paul did. I thought what you were going to get with Mac Jones is, my theory. You need a top 5 QB or a top 5 roster. I thought you were going to have a quarterback that if you built a top 5 type roster around him, you could win with. The Brock Purdy type or something like that.
A delusional Pats fan watching live on YouTube as we record. They call Drake Maye now Vanilla Vic. I had no idea.
Wait, who's Vanilla Caleb Williams? Mac or May?
Mac.
Oh,
I think Caleb Williams
is disrespectful to Caleb Williams. He has light years more talent than Mac.
He has infinitely more talent and a much higher ceiling as well. All right, we'll get to the back leg. We'll do a little Pats Paris, some of the other news, notes, nuggets, rumblings, and bumblings going on.
Let me answer Wayne real quick. Do you
answer? Make people have to stay tuned to the second half of the podcast.
Oh, okay. I have
on the live stream. We're on the live stream, but on the podcast now we have to insert like a commercial break. I just want people to, hey, look, if it works for Bill Simmons, it'll work for us here on. It'll work for us here on Six Rings of Football Things. Hold on, cousin Sal. Here comes the commercial sound. All right, and we're back here on BS Things, or 6 BS Rings. What are we calling this now? Second half of 6 Rings of Football Things. We opened up talking about the Patriots' identity crisis and the fact that they're just pinning too much on Drake Maye. Andy said it's Drake Maye and pray for rain. That he is what they are, or he is what they is, however you want to put it now. I'm wondering aloud, based off of a piece from Chad Graff, if there's anyone else that you're going to get from the 2024 draft class that's going to matter as well. Andy, let's go ahead and get into that one question you had on the other side before we took the break. What did you want to acknowledge?
Wayne Felch asked, do you trust Elliott Wolf for another offseason and draft class? I do not right now. I don't know how you could. If you
is that a firm? Because you said earlier you're not sure if Mayo is going to ultimately be the guy, but you definitely don't trust Wolf as of now.
How can I trust him? How could I trust him based on what he did last offseason? It was a disaster, an absolute disaster. Other than Drake Maye, and I give him no credit for that because I think 99% of the planet would have said Drake Maye.
Fell into their effing lap.
Right.
Like I am team. You don't get credit for the quarterback, because if it went Caleb, Drake, Daniels, or it went the way that it stayed the way it did, it is what it did, as they say. Either way, you ended up with a stud quarterback.
And everything other than that was a disaster. The offensive lineman he signed, the Chukwuezefor thing.
Where were you when the Chukwuezefor era ended?
Watching the Patriots season opener against the Bengals.
And somehow they won the freaking game. Yeah, like this weekend was a perfect example. One of our commenters said, hey, the Rams had 20 rookies on their squad last year because, of course, they effed all them picks. Got a Super Bowl out of it in the process. They did just fine. They look to be doing pretty well, too. They had a first and a second this year. They took Verse and Fisk. Guess who were dominant factors and figures in the Rams' win on Sunday, not named Nakua, Stafford, and Kupp? Verse and Fisk. You know where Fisk went, by the way? I know we mentioned it Sunday in the postgame, but I'd like to reiterate in case anyone wasn't listening, and you should be because it's the best damn postgame show in town. 39th, 2 picks after Jalen Polk. Gee whiz, how would we be doing with our defense that's falling apart in front of our eyes, Andy, if we had Braden Fisk on the team and not Jalen Polk?
Whoa. But what about the offense? How much of a drop it would take if we didn't have Jalen Polk?
Wait. Hey, quick question. Anyone that's listening right now, feel free to tweet at us, but to our viewers concurrent with our live stream at the moment, has the offense officially been weaponized, or should I still keep waiting?
I would keep waiting.
Okay.
I would definitely. There are no weapons of mass destruction other than Drake Maye on this roster.
Okay. Yes, Wayne Felch, stuck clock is right twice a day. But here's what you're going to keep hearing. I see this in my mentions and all over the Twix platform. I'm not blue skying yet. I can't handle multiple.
Yeah, what's that all about? I keep seeing that.
That's
everywhere.
people that are just mad. They don't want anything to do with Elon Musk, so they're leaving Twitter to go to
liberal weenies.
Why'd you have to get political, Andrew? At the pre-show meeting, we explicitly said no politics. Robert Donston, get rid of Mayo, go get Vrabel.
I don't hate it.
I don't.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't hate it. I didn't hate.
I wanted him in the first place.
Right.
When I ran into Ben Volen last year at the stadium, and Volen was like, "Hey, just so you know, there's smoke. There may be some fire to the smoke of the whole Vrabel thing. They I think for a minute they may have gotten swayed off platform with the whole no, we're committed to Gerard Mayo. When Vrabel,
I don't think they would pay the buyout. I think the buyout was what swayed him. There was
wore the red coat and pledged fealty and love and loyalty and honor to the organization. I think they were like, wait a second. Wow, it is Mike Vrabel after all. He's a badass. Look at the way Brian Callahan and the Titans have absolutely crapped all over themselves with superior talent to what Mike Vrabel had last year and the year before that.
Oh, Mike Vrabel is a good football coach. I don't know if he's a great football coach, but I can tell you he is a good football coach. Also a good football coach to kind of pair up with what they want to be, run the ball, play defense. That's his style of coaching. I mean,
okay, that's
money.
It was all money. Great point. You remember Sunday I was talking about, oh my God, my kingdom, if only to be able to see Drake Maye operate with the weaponry that Matt Stafford was able to or continues to be able to in Los Angeles. I'll ask you this. F that whole entire, what would the roster be if Belichick were the coach now? What would this Patriots record be right now? Same plan, Brissett for 5 games, into Drake Maye, but Mike Vrabel is the coach, not Gerard Mayo.
You'd have a couple more wins.
5 and 6 at least, right?
Yeah, 5 and 6 is probably a fair number. And Wayne says Vrabel do better the second time around, just like Belichick. Well, he was better than Belichick the first time around. He was a good coach in Tennessee. I believe he won Coach of the Year in Tennessee. He was a good coach right up until his GM traded A.J. Brown and started to tear down the kind of foundation of the team. Which, by the way, remind everybody, is sort of the hope that I have with Jamar Chase, that you can pull off an A.J. Brown-like trade where you trade a first-round pick and give the guy $100+ million like the Eagles did for A.J. Brown.
And Joe Burrow then immediately resigns from playing football and will be bagging groceries at a Kroger because there is zero chance he would ever play for the Bengals again.
Then I'll take him, too, in the deal. I would trade Maye for him.
May
and a first-round pick.
You know what? I'll entertain this. This is exactly what we're here for on a lot. Why we do live podcasts and just don't pre-record in a vacuum. New viewer Edward Navarez. What would it be if McDaniels were the offensive coordinator instead of AVP?
I would say similar, like 5-6, couple more wins. Now it would change everything because I think McDaniels, given his experience with Mac, may have advocated more strongly because I think AVP was in the Jacoby Brissett play early mode. I think
they knew each other.
I think McDaniels might have played Maye right out the gates, and so you would have had a totally different season. But all of this is hypotheticals, and as Rich Keefe said yesterday famously, "You're a hypothetical," while yelling at a caller.
Actually, great radio gold right there.
It was one of the funnier things I've ever heard.
They'll be playing that when Rich gets his Marconi.
It was the one person in the world who hates Drake Maye. He was just shredding Drake Maye, like some caller screaming about how bad he is. Why are people
calling this kid a turnover machine? Like the point of Peyton Manning throwing like 30 picks, 30 picks in his first season, only to then come back and lead the NFL the next season, seems to be lost on people. And no, it doesn't mean that we're comparing Drake Maye to Peyton Manning. However,
that would be ridiculous. I'm comparing him to Josh Allen.
Look at the tape. Look at the tape of how Peyton Manning looked his first year versus how Drake Maye looks right now. Some of those throws on Sunday that we're now getting to see on social media via the All 22, like the getting crushed in the pocket this way, throwing a dart diagonally to Booty this way. The sidearm pass that everyone was going goo goo gaga over, like you even asked him about it as well. What did he say? It was because he played multiple sports growing up, so he's learned how to be proficient with multiple arm slots.
Yeah, well, there's some baseball aspect to it. He also teased that there are a lot more tools in his bag that we still haven't seen. So there's more exciting Drake Maye arm angles and plays and throws to come, which is fun. But we're talking about the coaching and 13_architect_13. Very good name. Very concise. I see what you're doing there. Said playoffs with Vrabel. I mean, depends on what Elliott Wolf does. We're fixating on the coach, but the coach is not as important as what Elliott Wolf does with $137 million and all the draft picks this offseason. Jerod Mayo, if you give him a talented roster, will be a better coach next year. I can guarantee that. He'll learn. He is advocating for, just like a player, the biggest jump is year 2 jump, and he's going to have that. I would rather probably have Vrabel. That's fine. But the coach is not the biggest issue this offseason. The issue is the roster. The issue is, do you find offensive linemen? Do you find wide receivers? Do you add depth to your defense? And that's all on Elliott Wolf. And I'm not overly confident in Elliott Wolf right now. And I advocated for Elliott Wolf because I thought he had a strong resume, and I thought there was reason to believe he might be one of those guys. Well, his first offseason was a total bust disaster.
Yeah, not looking great, Bob. It is not looking great.
Your defense was sloppy with Belichick, too. Your whole team was sloppy with Belichick. I love how people just ignored the last 3 years.
I'm telling you, the Belichickian tinged revisionist historian glasses they're selling just outside the pro shop are something else. Okay, so let's just go to this. Obviously, a lot of other games we watched this weekend where it looked like they were playing a different kind of football. Chiefs Bills are going to run the conference for the next several years. You only hope that you can develop your next, you can keep Drake Maye on that Josh Allen 2.0 track. Maybe they can people in New York. Maybe Dayball becomes available. I still say they hold on to AVP because they want continuity and don't want to give the kid 3 OCs in 3 years.
So a question for you along those lines. I asked it to my radio partner. Power rank your preference of offensive hires this offseason if they were to be available. Josh McDaniels, Brian Daboll, or Kevin Stefanski.
Ooh. I can't see Stefanski replacing AVP because their scheme.
No. I didn't say replace.
Oh, just coming in as a special assistant.
Assistant head coach offense, might be play caller, and AVP kind of falls in line behind Stefanski like he did in Cleveland.
All right. Believe it or not, even though I am a celebrant of the catalog of Josh McDaniels, I will go Daboll. I would love literally the guy. He knows the scheme. He's been here. He probably would have the same closet where he can hang up his coat. But more importantly, he literally worked with Josh Allen, and he helped turn around Josh Allen. And if you could bring in the Josh Allen whisperer, hell, he even got, to be quite frank, maybe his most impressive accomplishment is he squeezed a $45 million a year contract out of Daniel Jones with that amazing season just a couple of years back. So I would actually go Daboll.
Yeah, I would go Daboll first, McDaniels second, and Stefanski would be my last choice.
Yeah, same. 100%. All right, so let's what are the three? Let's just leave on this one. What three things can we hope? What 2 or 3 things can we hope actually get fixed or improve over we have 6 games left. We have a bye week coming up in a few weeks. They're 3-8 right now. Next game this Sunday, 1:00 down in Miami. Let's power rank and prioritize, medal stand, whatever you want to call it, the 3 areas that we hope are improved most over the rest of the season.
Wide receiver, somebody, even I almost like Sunday. We talked about it in the Six Rings postgame show. The core pass catchers were Bourne and Henry. It wasn't young guys. It was the old guys from the Belichick free agent frenzy. I almost don't care if that continues. Just give me something that is consistent, something that is week to week. I think Drake Maye can count on a couple guys. Ideally, it would be one of the young guys in there. Demario Douglas would take a jump because I think he's had a sneaky, disappointing season in the eyes of a lot of people. And by the eyes of a lot of people, I mean this person right here. Baker, Polk. I'd love for one of the young guys to develop, but just give me somebody that Drake Maye can throw to on a regular basis, and it feels like they'll probably catch it and be productive. That would be number one. Definitely.
That's okay. So that's on the gold medal stand. That is hearing its nation's anthem while it sees its flag. For me, honestly, the coaching. I'm sorry. I believe you'll be you can get a T. Higgins. Maybe you can get Ted McMillan. You can, I don't know, maybe you go get 2 good. I know Arcan was, give me Mark Cooper and T. Higgins. Yeah, sure. Whatever. You can go out. What's that?
What was that?
I want T. Higgins and Amari Cooper. You can get receivers. You can buy linemen. You know what you can't buy? Coaching intuition, the coaching intelligence, the coaching gut, the coaching feel, the coaching.
But you can develop it.
Do you think so? All right.
Absolutely.
I want to see some of it start to develop now because I have less confidence in the coaching staff and some of the coordinators now than I did when the season started off. Put it that way.
That's probably fair. Coming off last week, I didn't think DeMarcus Covington necessarily stood out for the positive. That evolution, I would say the improvement or evolution of the coordinators, I'm higher on AVP right now than I was Covington, and I would have said the opposite coming into the season, I think. So that's fair. Mayo, there's work to be done. There is work to be done in terms of his coaching ability, his leadership ability, his spokesmanship ability, everything that goes into the job. I think he's been questionable at.
His coaching style resembles the way he handles his pressers, kind of wishy-washy, going this way and then walking it back that way. Pick a lane. That's why they need to develop an identity. That's why they need to develop a way and a path. And I'm not going to back off that. And then, you say receiver, then coaching, then O-line. I'll say coaching, then receiver, then O-line as well. The O-line, it is the worst.
The O-line is
the pass pro's bad.
But I almost don't care because I don't know how many of these guys are going to be here moving forward. Mike Onwenu and anybody else? Are any of these guys going to be part of the starting offensive line next year? I don't know that. I kind of hope a bunch of them are not, and it's not, that's not very nice to say that I'm rooting for them to lose their jobs, but the reality is they need to upgrade almost across the board. Ben Brown, nice story. Vidarian Lowe, nice guy, nice story. But
Shime pointed out, boy, Ben Brown is allergic to picking up stunts.
Oh my God. I don't know how defensive coordinators don't call games and twists up the middle all day long until they stop it.
They're going to now. The tape gets out. It's not a dumb league.
It's been all year. It hasn't just been Ben Brown and it hasn't just been last week. All year they've struggled. So That lends me to, they're not talented. Like, that's part of it. Their ability is limited. They're practice squatters, they're waiver wire guys. They are what they are.
Yes, exactly.
But some of that has to fall on Scott Turner and the coaching and getting these guys prepared and knowing what to do and how to handle it and drilling it and all of that.
Andy, can you honestly, can you take ground chuck from the grocery store that now has the special 30% off orange sticker and is starting to brown in some of the spots where it's supposed to be red?
You fry it up real good.
And can you make that taste like, beef Wellington?
No, but I can make a palatable taco out of it.
Okay, well, that's it, folks. That's it. We are just hoping for palatable tacos the rest of the way.
I like tacos. It's Tuesday.
It is indeed. All right, guys. We appreciate you guys watching live with us and all of your questions, your participation. We don't even have to run a mailbag podcast because you guys are like a live, living, AI-generated mailbag. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. He, of course, is at Jumbo Hart. He's on his way to a radio station near you for an afternoon program, and I'll just be home puttering around, not cleaning up my office because I don't really care about what my Zoom backdrop looks like. But we appreciate you for watching and listening to and being a huge part of the Six Rings and Football Things podcast community. Back in a couple of days with our preview of the Miami game. Hopefully we'll go behind enemy lines, give you the full comportment this week. We'll have On the Beat with Mego from the stadium. May even give you another special surprise or two on the pod stream. But until then, thank you guys for tuning in. Appreciate you very much. What's that?
Jeff Stenberg, we are aligned. Good one.
You can always do something with damage. Someone had a child. Oh, yep. That's true.
It's a great point.
Actually, you know what, Jeff? Multiple children. So we got that going.
And we think they're yours.
I did wear a Patriots jersey into the maternity ward, and the guy had Jets pins on his jacket, so we'll never actually know.
Oh.
All right. That'll do, everybody. Thanks. Take care. We'll talk to you soon. God bless. And as always,